So we'll see. I want him to like do that because he wants. There's a certain guys that are just like, especially in the military, they just want to be told like what to do. Yeah. Like I don't want to have to think about it. Just tell me exactly what I need to get to this goal.
That's funny, dude. A lot of athletes are starting to do that though. They're like, just tell me what to do, and then I'll go do it. I don't need to.
That's awesome.
Kind of do it on my own. Or,
yeah. But that's interesting because there's so much that they could find out on their own, like with the internet. But maybe there's so much that they're like, screw it. I don't know what to do now.
They're overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing with the internet and Instagram, YouTube. Like they're getting all these workouts, or they're getting like the nutrition advice, and you go, I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Now the waters are so muddy. I have
like I even watch stuff. I'm like what? I'm like, this looks awesome. Like maybe I'll try this. Or then I look at something else. I'm like, should I do this? I'm like, I don't know.
There's information on there that you look at and you're like, really?
Oh yeah. Like that. There's tons of that. I have luckily like weaved out my feed so that I'm not getting that.
My algorithm is animals murdering each other in this place. Have you heard of an Instagram page called Nature is Metal?
No.
It is wild.
Really?
Yeah, like alligators ripping pigs apart.
Oh my god.
It's just deer getting chased by, or like leopards or tigers.
So like just the brutality of nature.
The brutality of nature. Yeah. Like, oh, that's a cute, like a husky.
Yeah.
Or like a wolf.
Yeah.
Not a husky, a wolf.
Yeah.
And a wolf is like murdering something. Yeah. And you're like, oh, that's so cute. No, in real life.
Like, shit's real.
Shit's real, man. You cannot do that. That is...
Yeah. No. That's what I've tried to... I will get caught, of course, watching
down the rabbit
shit, but I'm like, I need to make sure that I don't go down those paths.
And obviously, like, I'm a soccer, like, nerd, so my page is, like, soccer and then... Animal murders, car crashes. Yeah. Like, it's weird. Yeah. But yeah, in the soccer stuff, I'll just fall down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I'll scroll, and then but then you come across, like, 2 or 3... people who are like, oh, they're getting it. Okay, cool. Like, and then there's other people like, no, I just got to do more skill work, or the way they're strength training. I'm like, it's really, you're not training for a soccer player. You're training to be a wide receiver.
Yeah.
They're doing weird cone drills.
Yeah, and that's like for you, like strength training in athletes. Is it because there's a lot of like There's a lot of, I guess you would say, functional. Like you could call it functional movement type of things.
Yeah.
But what about just like strength training? Do you think like that athletes should just be doing like the normal, like almost like bodybuilding workouts, or do you think they should only stick with specific like movements that are increased power and speed?
I think there's a variety, right? Where it's like depending on age, depending on sport, depending on where they are. I mean, I think bodybuilding gives you like a foundation, and then people kind of veer off from that, right? These 14-year-old boys are going to the gym, and all they want to do is chest and biceps.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
They don't care about their posterior chain.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
You can't see that, so that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's not going to it's not going to improve my looks, right? But what it does do, it just gives them like, they need that little bit of like ego, and then if you can educate them along the way, like, okay, listen, you can go do your chest and biceps, which is cool, but I want you to make sure like the next day you add in like this mobility drill, or do this, or we'll ask them.
And that may be good just to get them so they get used to like contracting the muscle, like feeling it, like feeling like they can fatigue it. Because you can fatigue like your bicep, you can really feel like you're pushing your bicep.
Yeah.
But sometimes like trying to get your hamstring or your glute, it's hard to get that same feeling. So that may be.
I think it's also because it's that. I think there's 2 things behind that. One, it's the alpha and beta receptors. You have like these hormonal, like we get more testosterone with biceps and chest and legs, right? Doing heavy stuff. We don't get I think 14, 15-year-olds still 14 years on this earth, and they think they know it all.
Yeah.
Right? So, but they get this pumped, they feel great, and then an injury occurs, and then So we try to go, listen, you can do all of that, just do these other things to supplement.
I know, because I see so many kids in the gym now, like doing these like very specific isolated like movements for like just like the lat or just like like these specific things. I'm like, dude,
everybody's
dude, yeah. I'm like, dude, just like the basics first.
Yes, yeah.
Like, can you do literally, Like, why are you doing that? Yeah, like you don't need that right now. And then on the other side, I think in my head, well, maybe that's good because they're making that like mind-muscle connection. They're really they're feeling it like in that muscle really good. So hopefully they can translate that to
I just realized
like the other things.
I have no
sounded good.
I like it's we're watching Galazo Network, guys. So I'm sorry. I think for me, in the way I perceive training is, if you're a soccer player or a football player or a basketball player and you've decided you're not going to play another sport, right? You're not going to do if you're not going to be a two-sport athlete, then you really need to be very specific on how you're going to train.
Yeah.
If you really want to get good at soccer, if you really want to go to basketball, then you have to supplement strength training. And just doing the bodybuilding generic workouts, not that bodybuilding is generic, but I'm just like the basic exercises.
Yeah.
That's not going to get you to where you need to go.
Yeah. Because you're not just trying to build muscle.
No, and you're trying to build power. You're trying to build strength. And if you're trying to go to the next level, so let's say you're trying to go to college and play. If you're a junior in high school and you're a basketball player and you don't go to the weight room, when you go to college, guess where you're going?
Yeah.
The weight room.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest distinguishing factors between athletes across the board. Doesn't matter what sport you play. You have to strength train. And colleges want you to be proficient. They want you to at least have the foundation done, right? Can you hinge? Can you squat? Can you push? Can you pull? You know, what does that look like?
Yeah.
We've had several colleges go, you know what, don't even worry about teaching them how to do like hang cleans or cleans, because we're going to probably change the way that they do it anyways.
Interesting.
Because it's got to fit our structure, our program. And we do, but we give them the foundation. But when we have kids that are starting at 9 years old, so by the time that they're high school, they can do the hang cleans. They can do that because their training age is so much longer. Now that 9-year-old versus the 14-year-old who's never done anything in the gym, this 9-year-old's already got years on the 14-year-old.
That's super cool. That's great that's even something like training that, starting that early with strength training. That's great.
And for us, it's just, we're not putting, it's not heavy. We're not like, hey, you're going to back. These are 9-year-olds, right? You're giving them fun games to play for agility, but then you're giving them like some basic squat, like can they pull up, push up, can they do those things? And I don't know what it is with the generation that we're at right now, but how they use their feet is like, we'll put kids in like a kneeling position and they want to immediately plantar flex. They want to point their toes down. And then they have to take the step, like they have to get to dorsiflexion and then to go. It's weird. Their big toes are not working at all. I don't know if it's because they're more sedative today. Like they're just kind of, I don't know what it is. But it's like they're creating like bunions early on.
Wow.
Like their toes are already like deformed. By the time they're in high school, and cleats, that doesn't help. The way their shoes work.
You got these small toe box shoes for everything.
And you have to have a small toe box for a soccer cleat. Like, can you imagine like what is it? What's a wide toe box shoe? Noble, like what? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But imagine that as a cleat. The ball's gonna be everywhere. It's not gonna look. It's not gonna go well. But yeah, man, it's crazy to see how kids are being developed. And then yesterday I was on X. I want to say Twitter. I was on X, and I saw this lady on a soft plyo box on top of a Bosu ball, standing with a barbell on her back, and she was doing these lateral. I'm going, what?
It's just for the gram, right?
I haven't, but I don't want to be so fast to judge.
Yeah.
But I go, okay, let's say it was very sports specific. She's a skater or a skier. This is the movements. That's the only way I can see this person doing anything. Why does she need to be on the plyo box and not putting the Bosu on the ground? Like, so it's...
Yeah.
I see the most wild stuff, and you're like, man... Some of it, you're like, no.
Yeah, why? It's just like I need to post something. What can I do today that's going to get some views?
I think that when we try to post, we're trying to like give you some insight to what we do and how we do it. We're just trying to educate you. We're not trying to like, look at how cool this person is.
Yeah.
Look who I trained today.
Yeah.
That's none of that.
Whatever.
It's just about. I can't imagine you. First off, everybody, this is Dr. Dan O'Leary. He is awesome chiropractor, but the way you do chiropractic work is not like a traditional chiropractor. And this is the reason why we started this relationship and why you are our medical director. Like it's, you're not going to adjust someone just to go, you need an adjustment.
True. Yeah. And that, yeah. It is, as chiropractor, it's like the surgeon. The surgeon's going to do surgery. Yes. Like the chiropractor is going to adjust the spine. Yes, but sometimes it's more about like not adjusting the spine, knowing when not to adjust it than when it does need an adjustment. And then, so some people, they're hypermobile. And like that's the main reason they have issues. So
and they need strength work.
Yes. So we don't want to actually adjust the spine and cause more hypermobility when they need to stabilize that joint. Because sometimes what will happen is you'll go to the chiropractor, you have neck pain, and you need, they say, yeah, let's adjust your spine. They adjust you. It feels good at the time. They say, come back in. You go back in.
Right.
You're like, yeah, it started hurting again. Let's adjust it again. You do another adjustment. They come back in again, and it's like, my neck's still hurting. It's like, okay, you need another adjustment, and let's adjust it again. And then they go through for months getting their spine adjusted, when really they needed stability. And the reason they were having the neck pain was because they had too much mobility. Because of that, their spine had so much mobility that the muscles needed to spasm, so it would support the spine.
Wow.
But then you're adjusting it again, causing too much hypermobility, when they need to strengthen the exercises.
It's very refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
It's because on the other side, you're a former player, right?
Played soccer my whole life.
Played soccer.
Yeah.
And so you get it.
Yeah.
But you also go, I don't need to adjust you. You need to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I will adjust maybe this part of your body, not this part, or maybe it's something separate. So tell me how you got into like chiropractic care. Like what was like, all right, this is it.
I did when it was in, freshman year of high school.
Okay.
We were doing 2-a-days. And we had to run 2 miles in the morning for time and then 2 miles in the afternoon for time.
Okay.
So I, of course, tried to go in shape.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I guess I didn't push myself hard enough. Because it's like, then you're racing against people and you got to be under 12 minutes. So I never really pushed myself hard enough because, going from grade school to high school, that was a big difference.
Yeah.
Like it was like, wow, okay, this is huge. So running that much, my ribs like subluxated to where when I would take a deep breath in, I would have a lot of pain and I couldn't take a full deep breath in. So I was just like sitting there. I couldn't take a deep breath in. Luckily, my cousin's husband is a chiropractor.
Okay.
And he lived a few houses down. So my dad took me over to his house, and he literally adjusted me, my thoracic spine, my cervical spine, my lumbar spine, and I was better. And I was like, what? Like, this was magic. I was like, what did he do?
Yeah.
And then I forgot about it because, I was a kid. I didn't even think about it again.
Right.
And then as I got through high school, went into college, I knew I wanted to be, I wanted to do something in biology. I loved helping people, and then I loved the human body. Right. I just thought it was the most amazing thing. Yeah. Why some people were sick, why some people didn't get sick, why did other people have injuries, why people didn't. So I was really interested just in the human body. Yeah. So I did pre-med because I knew it was something. Okay. I didn't really know I wanted to be a doctor because I didn't know it was possible. Like I didn't see that as myself, as like able to be a doctor, because I was a soccer player my whole life.
So you identified as a soccer player?
Yeah, so I was a soccer player.
Not a student. Yeah, I mean,
so I'm like, if I could go pro, like that would be awesome as a soccer player.
Yeah.
But that I was in, let's see, that was like in 2000, like 2004, 5, 6. Okay. Like there wasn't really. There was the MLS, and then like the European League. There was no like other opportunities to do like semi-pro, anything like that, unless you did like indoor soccer.
I got you.
Which I wasn't going to play indoor soccer. So
I don't. Yeah.
I wanted, of course, I could have. It would have been great to try to do pro, but it was like, all right, I'm not going to the MLS.
What's next? Yeah.
Now I gotta figure out what I want to do with my life, and I was like, I want to help people. I love the human body. I'm going to be a doctor.
Okay.
And then after figuring out what does it take to be a doctor and then what you have to do, I'm like, I don't want to work in an emergency room.
Yeah. So
I don't want to take care of sick people.
You went and said, I'm going to get the I don't want to's out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I was like, what am I going to be? I tried to literally think, what would I love to do every single day even if I didn't have to work? And I thought of that and I'm like, okay, what would I do today? Like, it would be like, well, I would love to like try to help someone. If someone was sick or hurting, I would try to want to make them feel better. Like that would fulfill me. That would be great. I would do that any day.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be like working. So then I thought doctor sounds good, but then I didn't do medications. Because I was into like fitness and health. So I'm like,
homeopathic.
I don't want to give medications to people. I want to help them naturally. And then I just remembered in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, my cousin, he was a chiropractor. He adjusted me. Let me see what they do.
Okay.
And then I went back and I just looked into chiropractors, and I looked at like the philosophy of chiropractic.
Okay.
And the philosophy is the body's self-healing and self-regulating, that it can heal itself, that if you give it what it needs and you don't poison it, that it's going to get to homeostasis and get healthy. And I was like, oh, that's cool. The body can heal itself. Like, how do we help it heal itself? And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to go to chiropractic school.
And that's what you did.
And that's what it was, yeah.
And
that's where I started.
You still practice that, and you still have that same philosophy, you still have the same drive, and our stories are very similar in the sense of where I grew up playing soccer, right? But I got ill, and I wanted to not take medication. I didn't want to be disabled forever. I didn't want, so I wanted a way to get better, and I can remember. I can remember my back was in pain. Like I was overweight. You would think that being ill, like you would lose weight, right? So for everyone that is listening that doesn't really know the story, and I don't talk about it a lot, is at 26 I was diagnosed with cancer. So
wow.
I've had tons of surgeries, chemotherapy, months and months and months, 5 days a week. It was very aggressive.
Wow.
And then because the cancer had spread into my chest and it didn't get to my brain, thank God.
Wow.
But what ended up happening was I ended up gaining weight because there was foods. I didn't eat junk food prior. I didn't eat sweets, cakes. I hated any of that. I was a soccer player, and then I kind of kept the same diet, so it was like pastas. Yeah. But I was still fit. I wasn't overweight, and then I got ill, and then I just kind of, even eating pasta, I couldn't taste. I didn't like the smell. Chicken, I didn't like the smell. I hated it. It changed my chemical balance.
Yeah. And
then God's graces and family support, I get through it all. It's a year later, and I'm like, what do I want to do? Well, I kind of want to get into physical therapy. I think I want to do something in that realm. And I started going into school, and go, man, I've never seen a fat physical therapist, like overweight kind of. I think at my heaviest I was like 240, which is crazy because but my back was inflamed all the time, so kind of like I wanted to find a natural way. I didn't want to go get injections. I had enough surgeries, 20 plus surgeries. I don't want any more.
Yeah.
So I go, well, what did you do when you were younger? Well, you were fit and you played soccer, so you need to do something. And I started reading more and more about like strength training, and I started to work out. I've never lifted weights a day in my life. and at the age of 27, almost 28, I'm now like lifting weights.
Wow.
Deadlifting, squatting, benching. Like I got into bodybuilding.
Cool.
It was great. And my body and my back, gone. No issues.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. Now, to give a little bit of, like, I have no spinal fluid in L5 and S1 and degenerative in 3 and 4.
Yep.
And I don't have any issues. My back is fine. I deadlift hundreds of pounds and it doesn't irritate me at all. Though I can specifically recall, the adduction machines, the good girl, bad girl. But I remember doing a set of adductions, and it was like almost like my back was like, thank you. It was a relief.
Wow.
It was weird. So I'm like, okay, and I'm started to go down this path. So I'm in school for PTA. I almost get started with doing clinicals. I have a semester left before I go do clinicals, and I go, oh no, I'm going to be regulated by insurance. I was already mad at insurance companies already and healthcare, and this is not what I want to do. So I had already had my CPT, so I started just to do personal training, and from that just kept me going.
Yep.
And I've been doing that ever since. And that's human movement is my background, right? It's just focusing on how the bodies move, but like you, finding that underlying symptom and healing that, or educating it, and then working on it and continuing to get better. And for soccer that's all I wanted to do.
That's what's kind of crazy now is and I'm just going on like what I see online, but it's very hard to tell the difference now between someone that is like strength trainer, personal trainer, physical therapist, and like even some chiropractors, because a lot of them are doing the same type of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
I was speaking to another trainer probably 2 months ago. He stopped by the office and we're chatting, and I said, listen, man, in 4 or 5 years, personal trainers there won't be anything. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, because I think the way either you're going to be pushed is either you're going to go to school for physical therapy, you become a DPT, or at some point they're going to start regulating like what we do. Just because everybody's doing the same thing. Most doctors of physical therapy now that have really any sensibility, they're not doing insurance, they're cash-based practice, and then they're doing personal training. Yeah. So what are personal trainers now?
Yeah. No, that's the same. I'm looking at the same thing.
Like I had a debate with the trainer. I'm like, give me an exercise. Pick an exercise. And he's like, bird dog. I said, okay, is that a personal training exercise, or is that a physical therapy exercise?
Yeah.
There's no exercise. It's not definitive.
Yeah.
So that's the issue that we have in our industry, right? It's like this overlapping, and what you're seeing is you're seeing physical therapists that are like, I want to help more, which is great, but I'm going to train them. I'm cleared by our medical society to do all of these things. Personal trainers are not. Right? So that's why I have people like you who can do those things. Like I go, man, I'm not blurring these lines. I understand what's needed, but I also need people around me. I need people who will understand soccer.
And that's when you have like the personal or physical therapist, like how I remember it when I was growing up, it was like post-surgical stuff. Yeah, it was mainly post-surgical rehab. Like you went to the PT if you had like a wrist surgery, a hand surgery, a knee replacement, hip replacement.
That's what I remember.
Like that was it.
Yeah.
But now, probably because they're like, this is boring, and I don't want to do that. they've moved on to more of the physical fitness type of training.
That's like interesting.
That blurred line between personal trainer and physical therapist and performance enhancement. That's like they're all kind of coming together, which is, it's good, but it's like now everyone really has to like step up like what they're doing, because everyone's kind of doing the same thing.
It's oversaturated.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's a personal trainer now.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what your background is in. If you're a physical therapist, you're personal training.
Yeah.
If you're if you're a personal trainer, what are you now? Nutrition, like everything is like so saturated. Yeah. And in order to separate yourself from competitors or separate yourself as like, I want to be known as the guy who really pushed strength training for soccer.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want to do, right? I also want to make sure that the company grows in itself to where it's this undeniable resource with people like you and our training staff and our other trainers that are like, they're smart, they understand, they continue their education, they read, and they just continue to learn.
Yep.
Right? Everybody's continuing to grow, including myself. So I think even some of the things that we're adding into the practice this year is going to be game changing, because nobody's doing these things.
And that's why it's good, because if let's say you're a physical therapist and you have your physical therapy practice, or you have a chiropractor and you have your chiropractic practice, and you have a patient that has an issue. Well, you want to help that person get better. Right. So you're going to maybe do chiropractic, and then you're going to do rehab exercises, and then you see that, okay, this person is better, but now they still having issues when they do their activities of daily living or when they try to work out, and then you start wanting to try to prescribe them like exercises to do. So you try to do everything by yourself. So that's where it's like if some practitioners can make more relationships in the community and say, hey, I could do this, but that's not specifically my specialty. Let me just partner with someone that's all they do. Like, that's what they love. Yeah. That's what they're spending all their time thinking about. Yeah. Let me partner with them.
And they have a successful track record.
Yes, true.
And that's the other thing is like, well, we refer, and by the way, I'm not in any way disparaging physical therapy. Like we have physical therapy partners, right? And it's important to have those relationships, because in a post-surgery moment, I go, well, then you need to see so-and-so. Yep. You need to get with Dan. All of these things. Yep. And then you can come see me. Yep. It's not that I'm taking money away from myself. I've now given myself more credibility by saying this is out of my scope or out of what I feel comfortable doing, but I want this process to happen. Yeah. And I think I've seen this the most when we approach high schools and we say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do. We work with our local high schools, either some of the schools that we currently work with. They go, no, we're okay. We have a weightlifting coach, or they have their strength and conditioning coach. Their strength and conditioning coach is also their PE coach. It's also their math teacher. It's also right. So they feel like we're taking stipends away from them. And I go, well, one, what we're doing is we're taking liability off of you, placing it on us, but we're also now helping we're another resource. Yeah. Imagine how much more time that coach is going to have working on their skill instead of being in the weight room and having to make sure that these exercises are being done properly. Yeah. I don't know how it is nowadays, but yeah, when I was in high school, there was we had like a weightlifting class, and the strength coach was the football coach. That's right. So like he focused only on the football players, so no one else got anything. Like we didn't do any other training for soccer besides run and do soccer specific training. We didn't even it was all like the plyometrics and things like that. There was nothing else. I've never lifted a weight. They were telling us to stay out of the weight room. They're like, you need to go to the soccer field. Yeah. Don't come here. I'm like, Luckily I lifted weights. Like I loved it, and I could feel a difference. I noticed a difference when I put on muscle. Like I definitely noticed a difference in my ability to hold people off the ball, balance and coordination. Like all that improved when I started lifting weights. Wow. And especially I'm like 5'7", so I
I needed to be strong because
Yeah.
as soon as you went up into the college level, you had some huge guys.
Yeah.
Luckily, we had a lower center of gravity, so I could just knock them on the hip, and then I would just...
We're in the same boat.
I could knock them off the ball really easily, and they would get pissed because they couldn't get it. But you needed that strength, and I'm happy that I just did it. Like, no one told me to do it. Like, there was no one that says
you found joy in it, in doing it on your own. Yeah.
Because I think back then it was that kids shouldn't lift weights when they're younger. Like, it was that it's going to stunt your growth. Like, that was always the thing to say, don't lift weights because it'll stunt your growth. So no one wanted to recommend that. Now we have research that shows, no, it's not going to stunt your growth.
Actually,
that accelerates
you can do it. Yeah, and accelerates growth.
It would be amazing to start doing it now. Yeah. So that's what's cool about why, when I see a patient, that I think every one of them should start doing strength training.
Yeah.
And it's just finding the right person to send them to that can do that. And
and
getting in their heads that, like, that you have to, if you want to stay healthy, this is for the general population. If you want to stay healthy, you need to lift weights.
Yes.
If you want to improve your performance, you need to do strength training along with everything else that you're doing.
Yes.
Like, that's just how it should be.
The thing with, I'll touch base on the adults, right? The adults that maybe have a fear of lifting weights, or they have like a preconceived notation of what that looks like. And you don't have to throw up.
Yeah.
To have a really good workout, right? You can do it in relaxed clothes, come how you are, get your core workout in, get some balance workout in, and then you can go.
That's it, yeah.
You don't need to start doing CrossFit immediately.
Yeah. And you're not going to look like a bodybuilder when you start working out.
You're not going to look like that, right?
Yeah.
So the approach should be microdosing your clients to the point where they feel comfortable, but then you can start pushing them to a little bit more, giving them a little bit more responsibility as well.
Yeah.
Of taking care of their.
And it's amazing how, if you start strength training, if you've taken someone that never has strength trained, how little stimulus they need to be sore. So it's like you would literally need 20 minutes, and that's all they need. So they're not dead sore the next day. They would go in and they feel like, that was it, like 20 minutes, that's all, like 10 minutes, something like that, that's all, like I did today, because that's all you needed right now for the stimulus.
And if you come back tomorrow, I need you to do this, and you're not going to be able to if you did an hour and a half workout and you've never done that before.
Like, you're going to be so sore, you're going to hate it, you're going to be inflamed, you don't want to work out again. I mean, I've seen people do that because you forget about that person hasn't worked out, and you're thinking of yourself that maybe works out all the time. You're like, I can do a 30-minute workout or 45-minute workout, and it's like I can really go hard, and I'm fine. I can still work out a different body part the next day. But someone that hasn't trained, that's very difficult. They couldn't do it.
Yes.
Like, you're going to scare them away.
In the soreness part, we have found that athletes, if they don't feel sore, and I don't know if this is coming from the parent or if it's coming from like what they understand a good workout is. But if they're not sore, they didn't have a good workout.
They feel like they didn't do anything?
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
No. Soreness is your physical response to you not recovering.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Your body's like, this part of your body did not recover very well. You did not get all of the, your tissue is tight, your lactic acid, your pH balance is high.
Like, you're not ready to go back into training. Yeah.
And they want to train.
Yeah.
But that's the point of microdosing and teaching kids young and giving them just a little bit of responsibility. Like, this is how you hinge, practice this hinge at home. When you come in, this is what we're going to do. But we play fun games to kind of, they don't realize what they're doing at 9 years old. But then when they're 12 and they've got 2-3 years already under their belt, then you can say, here's a kettlebell, here's some medicine balls, here's some of these other tools in the toolbox. And they adapt to it, man.
How do you see that translate into like learning the hip hinge and them getting strong in that hip hinge? How does that translate to the soccer player? Like, what would you see change in their game?
The ability to defend and turn.
Nice.
Right. So I understand the squat. You're in a squatty type of position, but you're also the hinge is part of that squat pattern. And if you're hinging well, you can turn. You're not. It's you're putting your pelvis in the right position. to make the turn.
Nice.
That's how we see the hinge. And not only do we see the hinge as probably more important, it's because of the posterior chain. Mm-hmm. Like, we want that posterior chain to be stable and work. Your glutes, your hamstrings, your lumbar, all of that needs to be stable. Mm-hmm. It's got to create power. It's got to create strength. And when we see soccer players who actually take that strength training seriously, they make the biggest strides on their team. Mm. Maybe not immediately, but they go, they recognize I'm not injured. I'm not. Or when they do get injured, the recovery is quicker. So much quicker, and that's what we try to relay to parents, is by saying, "Hey, you're this is a sport. You're gonna get injured, but when you do get injured, is how fast are you gonna recover?" Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah, because of course there's hamstring injuries a lot, rolling their ankle sprains a lot, and then knee stuff. Yeah, right. Like those would be the main.
So when you're in. What did you sustain injuries as a player going through your career, and then?
Yeah, luckily I never had major injuries. I had a lot of sprained ankles. Yeah, lots of sprained ankles. Yeah, like those are like the biggest injuries. But I never had like tore anything in my knee. Never had any hip or back problems throughout my entire career. Luckily, and I was center mid. Okay. So I was like offensive center mid. So I was getting hit a lot. You know, so there was a lot of.
Well, I think you're probably not even realizing it. Like the strength training, the workouts that you did probably helped mitigate.
Probably. I didn't even think about it. But now that I'm like past all that, I'm like, damn, I got through and I never had like an injury. I never had a major injury. I rolled my ankle playing on shitty fields. Yes. Like, it wasn't even about like probably me. It was on crappy fields where I stepped on like a chunk of grass and then there was dirt and then I rolled my ankle.
There's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. That's probably what happened.
I don't think I was injury prone. I sustained like severe injuries would be like I fractured a wrist or I fractured my whatever it was.
Contact.
Yeah, but I never I didn't tear anything. I never had ankle injuries, knee injuries. Yeah. It was always I was a goalkeeper, so it was always like I fractured a wrist at one point, and I think I did roll my ankle once, but that was about it. Mm-hmm. But I was extremely physical at the time. But you know what? We were not training 4 days a week plus 3 games in a weekend. We trained Tuesdays, Thursdays for 3 hours, 4 hours. I mean, long training sessions. And then game on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. Depending, if it was just maybe we're not in a tournament, maybe just a game on Saturday.
Yeah. That is a lot. It's different than what it... I remember specifically in college playing, and I told my head coach, I'm like, I'm not practicing today. Like, I need a day off to rest. Because we would play, on a Saturday night, then Sunday would be a day off, but still by, like, Monday, I wasn't recovered enough to run. And I could feel my body... like breaking down because you'd practice every day and you'd have these really hard games, and I literally would just tell them like I'm not being a baby or anything like that. I can just feel my body. If you want me at my best next weekend, I have to have a day to recover. There's no point of me running right now. Doing like I have my touch. I'm in middle of the season. Yeah, like I'm in shape for the games. Right. I don't need to do anything else. I just need to rest. And then when I would be able to rest, then. Boom, then by Saturday I was ready to go again. Yeah. But if not, I was just getting more broken down.
But that's what it is today. It's practice. It doesn't matter what sport, by the way. Yeah. Doesn't matter soccer, baseball, basketball. It doesn't matter. They're training and practicing every day. Yeah. Then they go to showcases or games and they're doing all of this. And they don't know why. Even when they're starting to strength train, they don't know why we're getting injured. Well, because you're not allowing for recovery. Yeah. And that's another side of the story of where, well, we need to make money. We gotta, right? We have to make money as an organization. We have to pay our staff. And I get all of that. But there's gotta be a better way to structure your academy, organization, tournament, how you practice, allow them to recover. Yeah. Maybe part of team training is going to yoga.
Yeah.
Going to get mobility working, going to get, ice baths or saunas.
Like still do a team activity.
You're doing a team activity, but you're not doing the skill.
You're not breaking your body down.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. And the nutrition part of that. Like, there was no nutrition, like anything, about what you should eat pre or post game workout practice. So, I mean, having that information for young athletes and even older athletes, even in college, I mean, that's key. Even though some guys, I feel like they don't listen to it, but at least it's
there.
You let them know, like, this is what you... And I wish they would put some more emphasis on it, because you're breaking your body down so much, and then if you're not giving it anything to repair, how do you expect to be, like, at your optimal level? And some players, I mean, that's how good they are. Like, that they're still able to perform even though they're not even letting their body recover. But just think if you took that player and allowed them to recover and then eat enough protein and have just think of, like, where they could be at.
What would you typically eat, or what would you recommend? Let's say you've got a youth athlete with you, and you have the ability to kind of, I don't want to say control or dictate, but you can give them nutrition advice. Where are you placing the emphasis of, like, hey, this is kind of what you need before, and this is what you need after, this is what you need during the day. And what we have found is that people who under-consume their calories have an increased risk of injury.
For sure. They have to have, for athletes, they need to eat enough. They won't eat enough. They won't get enough calories to be able to recover. And that's sometimes difficult with parents, because parents they don't want to overfeed their kids. They don't want to give them a lot of food. But when you're practicing every single day like that and having games and doing tournaments, you need a ton of calories.
Yeah.
And then you need protein. They have to consume enough protein. And then also they have to have the carbohydrates.
Yep.
I mean, specifically before, and then even intra athletics, like they can take it during the game.
Yeah.
And then the electrolyte balance.
Yeah.
Like they have to have all those things. Like those would be the protein, carbohydrates, and then electrolyte balance.
Yeah.
Those would be the main things.
Electrolytes are like right now I'm drinking water. But how much of that is actually being absorbed into my cells if I don't have the right, electrolyte balance? Or, maybe typically, what I will do? I will add a little bit of sea salt, or cucumber into my water to help absorb. Like, you ever drink a water bottle and you're like, God, I'm still thirsty.
Yeah. Because literally you're not hydrating.
You're not hydrating.
You're just getting water. You're actually flushing out your electrolytes.
Yeah.
So like water, when it's really hot out and then they do the water breaks, like you should be getting the salts with the water.
Yes.
Like at those water breaks. That's hydration.
Yeah.
You shouldn't just be drinking water. You're going to deplete yourself. Like that would be, you're going to feel like almost like a brain fog. Like really, you start getting fatigued when you're just blowing out all your electrolytes because you're drinking too much water.
Yes.
But then everyone's just saying drink more water.
But salt has been demonized.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to raise your blood pressure. It's going to raise your cholesterol. It's going to do this. It's going to... Well, let's look at all the other stuff that you're consuming and then not place the blame on salt.
Yeah.
Because, man, like, I'll just do, like, I call it a creatine soup.
Yeah.
I'll take chicken broth or bone broth, heat it up like a tea, but I'll put 5 grams, like a scoop of creatine in.
Yeah.
I'll mix it up, and, dude, I feel...
It's awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah. Like, I'm like, I'm wired. Energy is high. It's because I have... my cells can actually fire off and work.
Yeah. You have collagen, you got the protein in there, you got some electrolytes, you got the creatine. I always recommend that the athletes take creatine. Like, for sure, because it's your creatine phosphate system. It's like your energy system that you're depleting during exercise, and you're not going to replenish that. Like,
and mom and dads
replenish
are like,
it.
No, that's a drug.
Yeah.
Still today,
I
to
miss
this
that,
day, I'm like, guys, no. Like, I promise you it's safe.
Yeah.
Like,
it's given the most researched supplement out there, especially for athletes. Yeah.
I started my son on creatine 13 or 14, just to supplement once a week, twice a week. Then he started to get into a little bit more. Now he knows when to actually, like, I can't take it during this time of day because I won't take it at night because it upsets
whatever.
But he still takes it to this day, and knock on wood, man, he hasn't had severe injuries.
Yeah.
And I truly, truly think because creatine has helped him supplement. You can't just eat.
Yeah.
You have to supplement.
Yeah.
Supplement is, parents are looking like, well, I don't want him on a bunch of pills and this and that, but you'll take him to the doctor and get a Z-Pack.
Yeah. You want him performing at his highest level. And unless his diet is perfect, which they're not, then you can have some specific supplements. Like, you don't need to go crazy, but you can have specific stuff. Especially when we talk about like creatine for soccer. I mean, there's a lot of explosive movements. There's a lot of sprinting. Yeah. Especially a lot of times when you're going into a tackle with someone and you're fighting for the ball, you're not breathing good. So it's very anaerobic. You're not using oxygen. So that's the creatine phosphate system. You're using that when you're going into those tackles to try to win the ball for someone. And then you win it, you start playing, and then you start jogging again, and now you're using the aerobic system,
Wow.
So
you're being thoughtful.
Yes.
And thinking of, like, again, that's why this works, right? Yes. This is why our relationship works, but it's also why you help the people that you help, because you're like, I don't need to adjust you.
Yeah.
Here's what you need.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to walk this path, we'll do this and that, and we're in the same boat. If you're coming to us and you're like, hey, let's say you're an adult. We work with some adults, but obviously we're working with soccer players, but even on our adults, like, we want to lose X amount of pounds. Okay, we hear you, we know what you're saying, but what you are wanting to, you want to look better, you want to feel better, you want to have longevity. Here's the pathway, and I'm going to microdose these people into better routines, and then I don't want to hold your hand for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I want to be able to educate you. I still want you part of us 10, 15 years from now, right?
Yeah.
But I want to give you something new. I don't want to give you the same information.
Yeah.
You're thinking about inner breathing under a 50-50, like a tackle. You're thinking about anaerobic systems. You're like, okay, well then, that is being thoughtful and forward thinking, and that's the trainers that we want. That's the relationships that we want, and those are the clients that we want as well. We want to help those clients and athletes be forward thinking. So whether they're on the pitch or the basketball court, they are really understanding how what we're doing is translating for them. That's a big thing for them.
And I do adjust a lot of people. There's just some people that I don't, because you don't need to every single time. But there is some performance enhancement to chiropractic adjustment, because we're really increasing the sensory information into the brain. So the brain knows where the body is in space better. So if the brain knows where it is, if it's getting good sensory feedback, then it can get good motor output to that area.
Okay.
So when we do, like, for example, the upper neck, it has the most receptors in the suboccipital muscles per gram of muscle fiber, telling your brain where your body is in space.
Okay.
All right. So because of that, if for some reason the C1, C2, the occiput is just a little out of position or not moving properly, then that's not going to provide feedback into your brain about where your head is. So then it's going to affect everything below it.
So there's a delay.
So it's like it's not going to be able to control the body as efficiently.
Okay.
So when we adjust it, we're actually increasing the information into the brain. So the brain's like, whoa, I have a good picture of where my body is in space right now.
Okay.
Like my vestibular system, all the little receptors, mechanoreceptors in the spine are firing up. So you work more efficiently.
Okay.
So that's one thing that chiropractic can do. So they've done studies on it, and I don't know how great these studies were, but they had people that the test where they have to jump up and hit the flags or whatever that is.
Yeah.
So
the vertical jump.
Yeah, the vertical. Mm-hmm. So they had people before and then after adjustments do that, and they were able to jump higher.
Really?
After they got adjusted, they did quad strength.
Okay.
Where people, after they got adjusted, their quad strength improved, and they didn't know what it was for sure, but they feel like it's the sensory system is being improved. The brain knows where your body is in space better.
Interesting. So this is kind of going along the lines, because I do want to follow up on that. Hamstring strains and injuries for us, I say it's not your hamstrings. I promise you it's not your hamstrings. It is the availability in your hamstring. You didn't have, were not available. Your hamstring was not available to extend, which caused it to strain. Well, why is that? Well, we feel that between the groin and the quad are your restricting factors. Okay, your rectus femoris, the typical, right? And this is something that we learn when we go to school. Is this muscle the antagonist, right? Well, then why aren't we treating the antagonist muscle for this? And I did it to a girl the other day. I did it to a female athlete. She had limited hamstring. And I said, it's not your hamstrings, I promise.
Like her flexibility was limited?
Yeah. Limited. Range of motion, I mean. And then we worked on her quad, meaning like I had her just do some like pin and stretch movements and some lengthening exercises in her quad, and then her hamstring availability was there. And she's like, oh, this is crazy. Yeah.
And I see too that a lot of times.
So what I'm wondering is that if you would go through an adjustment, it's because it wasn't available. Maybe there's a delay in the nervous system. Maybe the fascia is restricted, and you go through the adjustment. And when you do a high velocity thrust, I think I said that right?
Yeah.
So all right.
Yeah, good job.
It's you release the tension.
It's like we changed the neurology in that area.
Okay.
Like the spinal joints and the muscle spindle fibers, they have the most information in like for the lower back.
Okay.
Going to the brain. So when we do that high velocity, low amplitude adjustment, it fires off those receptors, which fires up to the brain. And then the brain's like, whoa, I'm getting feedback specifically at this segment. Okay. So then I know how to control it better.
And you're now relaxed? Is that the thought behind now it's
I would say it's like activated. Like it's turned on, like it's activated. Like
so it wasn't before.
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes that's what I see is people's hamstrings are tight because they're weak. Like they're just weak.
They're weak.
Very
true.
The brain, if something is weak, the brain isn't going to allow you to move into certain range of motion because you can't tolerate that range of motion.
It's protecting you.
Yes, without causing an injury. Okay. So you strengthen that tissue up, you'll gain more flexibility. That's not in every case, but that may be like part of it in one person that you
absolutely.
see.
Tell me if this is a complete fallacy. The more you adjust, the weaker the tendons and ligaments become.
It could. You could create a hypermobile state.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. Like if you're let's
say I go to you 3 times a week.
Yep.
And I get my neck adjusted, I get my low back adjusted. I do that for 2 years. Well, I didn't improve anything, but you're telling me that I could now have to keep coming.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would like what could happen is you're in chiropractic. You're either adjusting a segment that's like stuck out of position,
okay,
or you're adjusting a segment that's just locked up and not moving.
Like the SI joint. We'll say SI joint.
SI joint, like thoracic spine.
Okay.
Like, and in general, the cervical spine moves a lot. It has a lot of flexibility.
Right.
So in general, we would need to strengthen and stabilize it. The thoracic spine, because of the ribs, it doesn't have a lot of mobility. So we would adjust that more often because we're going to find that that's stiffer and locked up more.
Okay.
Then the lumbar spine has a lot more flexibility, so we would want to stabilize that. And then the hips, we go down there, they already have inherent stability, so you would want to mobilize the hips. So if you have someone that you're always adjusting their lumbar spine and always adjusting their cervical spine, and they don't necessarily need it because nothing is locked up, it's just hypermobile, then you're going to create an issue in that area. Ligaments won't specifically stretch from repeated adjustments because ligaments creep. You have to hold them under constant tension for a period of time for them to loosen up.
Okay.
So one adjustment, like 3 times a week, is not going to cause the ligaments to be too loose.
Okay.
Now what may happen is you've loosened that segment up. Now it's mobile. But now, because it's not stable, you're using that segment a lot. Like the that segment is being overactive. Like you're not using other segments because that segment is being used too much. And then that over time can cause wear and tear on the joint, wear and tear on the disc.
And that's what I'm probably hearing often.
Yes.
It's not necessarily the ligament, maybe tendon, maybe it is that joint structure that over time becomes wear and tear.
Yeah, because it's not, we see like in car accident cases, like that's pretty significant trauma to the ligaments.
Yeah.
And we'll take flexion extension x-rays and we won't see any excessive motion, even though someone has a lot of pain in their neck.
Right.
So those ligaments are so tough that you're not going to loosen them up so quickly. But what's going to happen is the muscles are just going to allow too much range of motion, and then they'll want to stabilize it because of that. So
and that's a neurological response, right? That's basically the response is like, we don't need this muscle to move, it's injured.
Yeah, we're not going to move it, or that joint is moving too much, so we need to stabilize it so it doesn't get injured.
Right.
And that's usually what like the injury of the spine comes from. It's either you had excessive motion, you couldn't control that segment, and then because of that, the muscle faulted and it had a little tore, like the multifidi muscle. Like that little injury is what caused the tear. Now that's usually going to get better pretty quick because it's a muscle. Right. So you're probably like 4 weeks.
Okay.
You're going to start feeling better. When you get more of a severe injury, though, when that muscle faults and doesn't support the spine, then you get into the ligament damage, and then you get into disc herniations. Of course, that's more severe. It's going to take longer. But it's all that balance between adjusting the right parts of the spine and then providing stability to that segment.
So choosing the right adjustments. I want to make sure I understand. Right? You're choosing the right areas to adjust.
Yeah.
Not over adjusting them.
Yeah.
It sounds like what we do is like choosing the right exercises
for
the right athlete.
Yeah.
It's specific.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the things that we really liked about what you do is because it's specific and it's tailored to the person. It's whatever the injury is or prehab. Maybe there's no injury.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just this person needs a better response neurologically, so we're training them from a power standpoint, but we have this thing, it has to be available.
Yep. Yeah.
It has to be available. If it's not available, maybe there's a restriction.
Yep.
Well, see Dan, maybe he'll know what to adjust. Maybe it's just, okay, I need to adjust the cervical spine, and then I'm going to allow you to stabilize this.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly right. It was, if you came in with lower back pain, we may not adjust your lower back. We would adjust your thoracic spine. What? And then after adjusting your thoracic spine, you do stability strengthening exercises for the lower back. So we can adjust in all kinds of different areas. Maybe we adjust your ankle. So that's hopefully people know that. Like when you go to the chiropractor, that's generally what they're trying to do. Is they're not just trying to crack everything. They're going at feeling it. Like we're trying to figure out what areas should we adjust for the neurologic stimulus, but then for the mobility and normalization of that joint motion. And then the area, because I see it a lot, the area that hurts is usually weak and hypermobile. It's moving too much. This is not in every case, but it's a majority of cases. Okay. Sometimes you do sleep in a certain position and your neck locks up, and we can adjust it, and you walk out and you're like, wow, I can move my neck again. Right. That happens. Or the SI joint just gets stuck. We adjust it. I couldn't walk. Now I can walk. Right. That does happen, but it doesn't happen all the time. A lot of it is like people usually, their injuries come from like stuff that happens over time. So it's the wear and tear that happens over time.
The overuse injuries or the wear. Yeah.
So and a lot of it, they try to go work out. They're like, it's beginning of the year. Let me go walk. Let me go jog. Let me go start working out. And they have back pain. It's not even their back. It's their glute medius and minimus are just super sore from stabilizing their pelvis when they're exercising. Yeah. And it's like they don't really have back pain. It's just referral pain up into the lower back. So there's a lot of times that just happens. So it's not like we need to specifically adjust that person. It's figuring out because I want to help you. I want to help you get better. Right. So just because you come in doesn't mean I need to adjust that segment. I just need to let you know, like, hey, you just need to recover right now. Yeah. Eat more protein, get your electrolytes in, take a few days off, let that muscle heal up, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah, and I think when someone comes in and do you have a process? You know how, someone comes in like, hey man, my back is killing me. What is the first thing that you decide to do with them?
I'm usually looking like when they come in, like how they're walking.
So
I can see what's going on with them there. Then I do the normal like orthopedic tests, neurologic tests, because we have to rule out any major neurological stuff.
Okay.
Like, do they have any like nerve impingement anywhere? So we want to rule that out. Do they have any muscle weakness? So like the big stuff.
Okay.
If they don't have that, then we get into range of motion and then palpation.
Okay.
And then, now since I've been doing this for 14 years now, it's really, I can quickly assess the person.
Yeah.
And figure out what's going on with them. Before, when I first started, it took me a long time. Like I would do all orthopedic tests, range of motion, neurologic tests, and be like, okay, nothing really showed up there. I don't know really what's going on with this person.
You went through your process.
Yeah, but now it's like I've seen so many injuries, and there's not like the injuries are all pretty similar. Like people come in with similar conditions all the time.
Yeah.
So I already know like this muscle is going to be sore, or this one's going to be weak, or this is the. Based on their history is huge too. Of like, when did this start? What have you been doing the past couple weeks? And usually you can figure it out from there.
I think the process part is super important. Because if you don't have, you've been doing it for so long. I've been doing it for a while, not chiropractic work. But I go and look at, I'm going to give you an example. We have athletes that come in and they've seen chiropractors, not ours, not you, or somewhere else. And they're like, yeah, my hips aren't even, I'm da-da-da. So we do a leg length. And like, yes, your hips are even, but you're not correcting the actual muscle. We give them an exercise to do, and if we retest and their legs are even, they freak out because they're like, why am I now going? Well, because
why am I needing to get adjusted?
Why am I? But I go, it's because that person or place isn't understanding and doing the process. You went into the, I'm not going to say the name. It's a franchise, and you walk in, you're getting adjusted,
no
and they're doing, they're going through their process, right? But it's not the process for the athlete. It's not your process. It's this thing where they just go in, get adjusted. I feel great. They leave. They go back to playing, and the pain refers back into it.
Yeah, and that's like leg lengths inequalities when someone lays down. Like anyone can fix that. Like literally press on a muscle somewhere or move their leg, and it's going to balance out.
Exactly.
So that's never a reason of why I adjust someone. It's a reason to say like, hey, like right now you have some imbalance somewhere in your body, or something is overactive, something's tight, just the way you lay down. But there's no reason why like you should be coming in and getting adjusted consistently, because that is
the
off.
hip is off.
Yeah, because that's such an easy fix. Like anyone can fix that type of thing.
Yeah.
So we're not really concerned unless that never changes. Unless you can't get it to change.
Okay.
Unless like you release their lats and it doesn't change. Unless you like you put an impulse in the pelvis, and usually that can get it to change. If that doesn't work, if you do like some leg like a leg adjustment, it doesn't work. Then you may start thinking like, oh, okay, what's going on? Why is this not balancing out? So that would just be the reason to say like, hey, maybe you need to come back in because we need to analyze this more. But most chiropractors, like you're saying, it is adjust and leave. So let's just analyze you to see if you need an adjustment and leave. But there's no workup to say, why did this start? What are your imbalances? What's going on with this? That just doesn't happen. And that's the way that some chiropractors just choose to practice, because there's different philosophies of, and business-wise too, of you don't want to spend that much time with the person, because then you can't adjust another person and charge them. Because if you're spending 20 minutes with this person, you could adjusted like 5 people in that time really quick. Yeah. So you're not making as much money. So the healthcare model, right? Because you're seeing, I think the average now is like 8 minutes. Like you're going, if you went to your doctor, you're going to see the nurse practitioner or the nurse far more long than you are going to actually see your physician. I think the physician time is like 6 minutes now. Wow. 8 minutes. Wow. Maximum, and then they're out. Yep. Yeah, they're not spending a lot of time with you, so it's not healthcare. It's health. It's like they're just trying to manage
whatever your symptoms are.
Yeah.
In chiropractic care, I've had good experiences with you, but I've had far more bad experiences with other chiropractors. I'm like, this just makes no sense.
Yeah, because it's more of that the adjustment is going to fix it all.
Yeah.
Like if we can just fix this part of the adjustment, the body's just going to go back to normal, and then you're out of our hands. You don't need anyone else. Like so, it's just we're just going to work on this one thing that we found, adjust it real quick. Hey, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
The issue with that is the body's very complex, and there's a lot of things that go into it.
Exactly.
So most chiropractors, well, I wouldn't say most, but some are just not going to say like do strength training. Like this is this way. It happened because of this. Because they're not saying they don't care how it happened. They're just adjusting it. So that's when it would be great if that chiropractor worked with other people in the community.
Is it because they're going to lose money? Is that
it's just a philosophy? It's like the philosophy of the treatment that if you can correct the spine, it's going to fix everything else. So that's the philosophy of it. That we don't need to, because, and that's maybe, they've seen a lot where people do just get an adjustment and they do get better. Like they have back pain or neck pain or they have leg pain, they get adjustments, they feel better. They don't have to do anything else.
Okay.
There's nothing else they have to do. And the person feels better. But that's just symptom reduction. That doesn't mean it's not going to come back. That doesn't mean that there's other issues that are going on. It just means that, they're out of pain for right now.
Yeah.
So they've seen that in their practice a lot. So they don't need to do anything else to that. So my just view of it, if it was my mom or dad or brother that came in, I mean, I just want to know the mechanism. I'm just into it more. Like I want to figure out, why did this start? Yes, let's do an adjustment, but let's figure out what caused this tissue to get injured or stress on it to cause pain. But it's a total just philosophy difference. There is a money thing, time thing, but it's just a philosophy how someone wants to practice. So you're going to have chiropractors that their sole thing they want to focus on is just doing the adjustment and working on the spine, and that's all you're going to get. Or you may go to someone that is more involved in rehab and sports, that they're going to spend a little bit more time diagnosing the issue. Of course, the chain companies, you're just going in there and you're just going to get adjusted, and that's all that you're going to get. So it's kind of just like the philosophy of how they run that practice. And that may not make sense. Some people it may. It's just what you want.
Yeah. I think for the general public, it'll make sense. I think it will make sense. But then for some, maybe that's all they are looking for.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just like...
I do have some patients that have been to chiropractors and they're just like, I don't care what, like, just adjust me real quick. Like, I just want to get adjusted real quick. Like, that's it. I don't want you to do anything else. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll adjust you. That's it. So some people, it's rare, but some people want that. I think it's me, how I want to practice is I don't want to just do that. Because that, maybe I'll help that person, but it may not help the other 10 people that come in. So I want to focus on helping the majority of the people when they come in.
And you see a wide range of people, from probably the mom, the yoga mom, to the car accident patient, to a 300-pound athlete. Because you work with the Jacksonville Sharks.
Yeah.
Explain how to adjust a lineman that size.
Yeah.
How are you doing that?
It's easier than you would think.
Really?
Yeah, because it's kind of amazing if you can get them in the right position.
Okay.
Now, sometimes I have an issue because my arms aren't long, but if you can get them in the right position, I mean, you're just taking that joint and you're just moving it a little bit.
Okay.
So it's like you're not moving their entire body. You think about it, it's like I'm just moving that one little joint. So if you can get them in, we call it like a lockout, get them in the right position on the table, it's easy.
Okay.
Sometimes it looks crazy because I've got to like jump on top of them.
They're 6'5".
Yeah,
6'6".
They're huge. So, but when you get down to like their spine moving, they have really good joint motion. So it's not hard to adjust them.
Okay.
I mean, some of the hardest people to adjust are just the people that are sedentary, that are just so stiff and older, that have degeneration of their spine. like they're very hard to adjust.
Really?
Very hard.
So they're more of a challenge than
the big guys.
The big guys.
Yeah, because if you can get the big guys in the right position, like they're easy to adjust. But
that's interesting.
I would say it is more. I'm breathing harder after I do adjust a 300-pound guy. But it is easy to the extent of the adjustment. Yeah. The other people that are more stiff, they're more sedentary, that are older, I'm not breathing as hard, but it's harder to
get
adjust
what you
them.
want out of it.
Yeah. Because everything, I mean, they just don't, like you said, they have degenerated discs.
Yeah.
So, and the joints have a lot of arthritis. So there's not going to be a big range of motion in there.
Yeah.
And then the tissue's very tense, so it's hard to get that joint to move.
And the glide, right, is gone.
Yeah, it just doesn't glide like some people. And then you're dealing with people that have like curves, rotation of vertebra, and then like if you have a vertebra that's rotated, let's say to the right, it's going to move easy to the right, but it's going to be very hard to move that vertebra to the left. So you maybe be able to hear a pop on the right side, but that left side, there's going to be nothing because it's like a scoliosis. There's like a lot of rotated vertebra in there.
And in order to improve that, then you wouldn't need to do strength training on the right side. You would need to do corrective work on the left side only.
You would,
I guess, to pull.
You would do your analysis and see which side, because it's so everyone's so different with it. It's like, yes, I would expect that, but then in other individuals, you'd be like, no, they're actually strong on that side or they're weak on this side. So you would do your analysis and just do your normal workup and say like, oh, okay, in this person, this is what I found. But in general, like, the way the vertebrae are rotated, it's going to be weak on that concave side, and it's going to be more hypertonic on that convex side.
Hypertonic, I mean, everything is so. Everyone's like, I want to be toned. I'm like, you mean hypertonic?
Yeah,
that's my retarded brain. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Again, because my relationship with chiropractors, physical therapists have always been, I've had more negative experiences than positives. And then when I find that there's therapists and chiropractors that actually are thoughtful and thinking, I always just like, I want to talk to you. I want to know more. I want to, how did this happen? Or what is this like? And because you're getting it, your patients are probably doing better than most. And your athletes are doing better than most. And which is fantastic. But on the flip side, on the negatives, man, I've had several chiropractors go, what you just like said, this is the only thing they need to do. They don't need to lift weights. They're going to they are still stuck back in the day where like they don't need to do that. They need this adjustment part. What part of your industry do you like, dude? Really? Like, there's because in mine it's
split. I mean, it's definitely split, and I would say in general, everyone's trying to help the person. Like everyone is looking in their own way. They're trying to help the person, and sometimes, and a lot of chiropractors they want to help as many people as possible. So they are going to put a lot into helping that person with the adjustment. So I'd say even though they're not doing an analysis or workup, those people do get better. First thing, they believe the doctor, they trust in him, and then the doctor is giving like all their energy into trying to get that person better if they're only doing the adjustment. And that it does work. Like I've seen it work. Like people have huge practices that it works very, very well. It's just chiropractors can be so individual. Like you're going to have 10 chiropractors doing 10 different things. So
and their philosophies are all different.
Yeah, they could all be different. They could be mixed philosophies. They can choose one or the other. So I would say it's hard to find a chiropractor, because they're so different in what they do.
And finding the chiropractor that fits, you have to fit their philosophy.
Yeah.
It's not like
you would have to go in and say like, okay, is what this guy's saying, does that jive with me? Like, is that what I'm looking for? Like, otherwise you're going to get taken down a road that you don't want to go into. Like, it's not what you're looking for. Wasting time, you're wasting your money. Like, really.
Yeah.
And not that you wouldn't get results, but it's not what you're looking for. And you're not probably going to get results because it's not, you're not with that philosophy. So I think it's always good to find out, like, what's the philosophy of the chiropractor. probably you're going to find out right away when you go in based on the analysis they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's just like, if you go in and see them and it's just like a quick analysis of like, hey, what do you have? This hurts? Okay, lay down, let's adjust you,
right.
And then come back and then here, or let's x-ray you, we found this and this and this, we're going to need like 40 visits on you like to try to get this better. You know, maybe that's not what you want. Maybe that's not what you're looking for. You're not looking for like spinal correction type of stuff. Or you go to the chiropractor where they're going to be more analysis based. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's do an analysis of it. Then let's get a treatment in. Let's see how we respond. And then let's come up with a plan based on the diagnosis that you have for your condition. And then let's give you exercises. Let's refer you to this person. Let's make it a team effort. So it's really just figuring out like for you, what's your goal?
What's your goal out of it?
Yeah, but it's very difficult just to see like chiropractor. Because I don't know what I'm going in to walk into a chiropractor's office, like what I'm going to get. I have to research them online and see what they do.
Yeah.
And then I can kind of figure out like the way they practice, you know?
Yeah. I think that's the same when it comes to training.
Yeah.
Like parents, athletes, or I'm going to go here because I heard this place, right? This trainer's great. And then they find that they've wasted time with, my son, my daughter, they're getting faster, but they're not, because they're not lifting the right way. Like, for example, I know this is controversial for me to say, but back squats, for me, we've taken them out of our training program for soccer players. Loading the spine bilaterally to enhance muscles that are already overused doesn't sound like a win-win for me. So I use the back squat as an example. I just don't think that, I think it's an outdated exercise for this sport, for this athlete, and we still find trainers back squatting soccer players, even at the collegiate level, and they're wondering why they're not getting faster, or their injury rates or their hamstrings are tight. And well, it's because you're giving an exercise contributing to this injury or slower or whatever it is. I'm not saying that the back squat doesn't have value. It does, especially if you're an Olympic lifter. Has tremendous value. Or if you're a power lifter, has tremendous value. If you're a basketball player, I think that there's certain, I don't think full range of motion squats are for you, but I think the squat for a basketball player is wonderful. But for a soccer player, I don't think that that's I think that a split squat, a Bulgarian, a single leg version, anything that helps target that specific muscle. Bilateral back squats, you don't find the instabilities. And that's what we go, well, we need to find the instabilities and train them. So I'm hoping that me saying that gets other people to understand my thought and why I don't. Because dads are like, what do you squat today? We didn't. Yeah. You know, we don't. And finding the trainer that fits that philosophy is like finding that chiropractor, right? They're shopping around. And we're trying to say, stop wasting so much time. You don't have to come to us. We're not saying that we are, but we are saying that there's trainers out there that will still hinder your process. And I can imagine that there's chiropractors that will hinder your process, right? So you're shopping, and the next thing you know, you're a junior in high school or a senior in high school, and you finally found the right training, for you. And that's,
I think that's it. Like, if you're looking for someone, it's find someone that is getting results.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is. Like, what result do you want? Like, and find out, does that person get that result? Like, in either way, if it's a chiropractor or if it's like a trainer, like, are they getting players prepared for the next level? Are they reducing injuries? Like, and if they're able to do that, then go along with them, follow them.
The overall track record, right? Not just the one-offs, you know, we got so-and-so off to college, or we got... If you're doing it repetitively, then it's something you can say, okay, well, there's something there. You know, this guy or girl, you know, this gym over here is doing it right. And we find, like, even in, like, big box gyms, like, that's a place for trainers to start, or maybe that's the clientele that they want, or they don't know where to start, so they start in the big box gym. I think I don't want to say I started. It wasn't big box, but it was a commercial gym, right? That's where I started.
Yeah.
But what got me back into soccer was through my own kids, but it was also because I wanted to train athletes, and I didn't want to, almost like the physical therapy, like I don't want to see a 75-year-old injured rehab, and then I'm going to be dictated by how much money I can take and insurance.
It's not fun.
It's not fun. And really where the rant is going is just trying to figure out the where this thing is going. Where is our industry growing? There's so many overlaps now, and everybody's still trying to figure out their space. And I'm like, listen, we're soccer oriented. That's the first thing. So if you're a soccer player, maybe not go to the football guy or the tennis guy or whoever, right? Go to a soccer guy or girl,
which is amazing, because luckily, like if you would search your name and you come up with this, I want strength training for my son plays soccer.
Yes,
I need to go to this guy that does soccer specific training. Which is great. Like to have that type of thing.
Listen, they do it for baseball. They do it for basketball, right? There's skill guys. There's skill development coaches for each sport. Why is there not someone who is dedicated to go, well, we need to strengthen. My son and daughter need to get faster. Well, you don't get faster by running more sprints or running long 3-mile runs. You have to get stronger. You have to have that foundational strength. And years ago, I was like, man, soccer is my passion, so I'm just going to do soccer. And that's we still see other athletes, and we see other sports. We see a lot of baseball players, we see a few basketball players, we see a few football players, but the majority of who we see are athletes or soccer players. But even listening to them talk about their warm-ups is like, what are you doing? How are you warming up? What? Having someone specific, right? If I have an injury in my neck, I'm not going to the doctor. I think I need to go to a chiropractor. I need to, or maybe I do need to go to the doctor. The doctor's going to refer me. Maybe I don't know. But you're specific. You find the specific thing that you want to do. You're wasting time with, Johnny got better at running his 40. Well, Johnny's a wide receiver, and he went to a wide receiver coach, and they worked on sprints, and they jumped, and they did plyometrics. The trainer was really smart with how he trained Johnny. But then you send Lizzie over there, and now Lizzie's not. She's kind of, her ankles are having issues now. It's different. Lily's a soccer player.
And that's what that's why we've kind of working together. Is I want to work with soccer players too. Like I just love soccer, and then I love working with athletes. And soccer players are just the niche that I love. Even though I work with football players and other athletes too. Because in mine they can be similar. In yours, though, you're going to be very specific with what they're doing.
I think there needs to be, man. I think there needs to be like early sports specialization is really killed athleticism. Kids today don't go outside and play. They don't play multiple sports. They're not doing right. It's only this sport. My son was that way. But I say, okay, if you're not going to play another sport, you need to be into the gym. You got to be in the weight room, and this is the reason why. You don't have to do anything crazy, but we're going to start off slow. We're going to do these things, and he loves it. Right? He's not burnt out. And that's the other thing that comes along with, I think, the early sports stuff is because they're only doing this one thing. That's who they identify as. I'm a soccer player. I'm a baseball player. This is who I am. Instead of saying that they're an athlete. And being an early sports specialization, if they're going to do that, then we need to find trainers and develop trainers that are going to be specialized for that sport. 100%. It's not that the trainer that I'm saying that there's trainers that can't do multiple things. I'm just saying that they should have a really good knowledge of that sport.
because you're going to get, if you're not doing the strength training, you're just training soccer all the time, you're going to have just certain muscles that are always going to be overused and other muscles that are just not being used. And if you don't balance that out with strength training, you're going to get an injury at some point because you're not going to be balanced.
Or I think if you're doing the wrong exercises,
true, yeah,
you're going to get injured. It's like you're contributing to this injury.
Yeah,
I see it. Right, practices are going on, and then they got to do like this team loses, so they're doing whatever fitness, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of doing crunches, do like a plank or do something different, because I think the crunch is now contributing to groin pain or hip flexor pain. Yeah. Because you're already tight.
Yeah, you already ran, so you don't.
Don't make the abdominals.
Let's do the opposite.
Do the opposite. Do a plank or whatever, Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Do something to lengthen the tissue back out.
Yeah.
Everything that we want to do is short, mm-hmm. and we're not lengthening the tissue back out. So, yes, short makes you faster, right? That spring, but at what point do you need to get it to lengthen back out so you can get?
Yeah. We would do this in yoga class. It was funny when we did yoga. We would do abs in yoga class. But all the instructors, after you did abs, they would have you curl up into like a ball and like squeeze your knees to your chest.
Really?
And I'm like, can we stop doing that? Because what I want to do after I do a bunch of abs and contract everything on the front is I want to like stretch out. I want to stretch my abs as much as possible. But they just didn't get that. Like, and then it's like now they've changed, and it's like, okay, people are enjoying it more because they're actually stretching the tissue out and not contracting it more after you just contracted it. So it's like that's kind of everywhere, and it's that knowledge that just people need to be aware of.
Yeah, and I don't want it to seem like I come across as the know-all be-all, because I don't. Like, I want to learn. I'm learning from you right now. I'm
the same way. Right? I'm always learning, whatever.
But I'm very confident in my abilities as a trainer in this sport because I understand it. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm the best trainer in the world. I'm not saying that we have the best company, but what I am saying is we're pretty good.
Yeah. You'll get results.
And we get results. Yeah. And we're not, our injuries are really low, almost non-existent. Mm-hmm. Our athletes are with us for years because we microdose them. Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying, overall, when we look at it, I think that we do a really good job of training. Mm-hmm. But I'm still out there learning, man. Yeah. I'm still learning. I'm still reading, still talking to this trainer. I'm still, even from other sports. Yeah. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, I want to learn. Yeah. I cannot, and here's the thing, just because you said it to me doesn't make me aware of it. I don't know it yet. Yeah. You said it to me, I'm aware of it, but I still need to go learn it, or I need to go do it. I need to, before I start implementing that. Or do I even want to implement that into my training? Yeah. Just knowledge that you have, maybe you use later on if a certain athlete comes your way. I pissed off a physical therapist by saying, you took a 20-year-old test when I've been doing this for 20 years. Yeah. And it's not that it's the therapist's fault, it's the structure of the symptom. There needs to be evidence-based stuff. It has to go through trials, right? But you took an old test, but I've got now all of this experience. I've gone through these mistakes. I've gone through these successes, and you're just now coming out of it. Yeah. That's an issue. I think that if you're a physical therapist in school, our pathways should be like they need to go through personal training as well. They need to go through exercise selection. They need to go through those things because when they come out, they're like, I don't.
Yeah. Clinical experience is a big deal. Like working with athletes, like that's just a big deal because it's not, you can know everything, but then when you finally get to that athlete and you're working with them, like it's all the experience that you've had over 20 years that you're going to take to put that to give them the right program to get them at their best. And you can't, if you're just coming out of school, you have the knowledge, but you don't know how to implement it. Like, it's very difficult to implement. You know the basics, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's, clinical experience is huge.
It's
like
massive.
That's what separates you from. It's really. I was thinking about that. Like what separates me from someone else? It's like, well, we all do similar things. It's just all my past experiences that I've had that have led me up to this point to share my knowledge then. And then I have
making you really good at what you do.
And then I have you with all your clinical experience, and then we have this one athlete, and we can come together and say, okay, here's what I see, here's what you see, and then they're going to be at their optimal potential because it's the experience of it.
It's, I think for us, it's the process. We both have unique processes in the way we see athletes and movement. It's not. It's the information is not lost in translation. If I didn't send an athlete to refer out, right, I'm never going to hear from this physical therapist. I'm never going to hear from their orthopedic. I'm never going to hear. Okay, well then, I'll just build that network within my own training, and I will hear everything because there may be something that you see, and that I missed, or there may be something that, hey, this is the process, this is a step, and you give them to us, and we walk them through the step. Then they come back for treatment, right? That is the process. I think that however the education system is being developed and being pushed now, it's like, well, now the physical therapist is the trainer, is the orthopedic, is this, and that's just me outside looking in. I could be completely wrong, but I'm not married to my that. But I'm like pretty convinced.
I mean, that's just what I see.
That's just what I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't really know what's happening.
If you're a physical therapist out there and you're listening to me and you're yelling through your phone or your computer, my bad. I'm just saying. From an outside perspective looking in, and then with my past experiences with other physical therapists, it's that I've referred a patient to you, but you're not returning the favor or returning the patient to me to do. Now you're training them. I'm lost. What is that about?
That's not good.
But it's also, again, information that gets back. You're like, well, I didn't know you were even back to train. Are you training? You're okay. You can train. Okay, great.
Yeah, and that's why me and you we can work. We can work together and make sure that it's all about the athlete. It's all about them and getting the results. And if there's not communication, then they're not going to get the results that they want. Like, that's just what it comes down to. And that happens a lot. Like, tons of times where with the patients came to you for help, and you're helping them, and you have the plan for them, but you see that you don't know everything, and that you want them to go have someone take a look at it. And then for that person then not to refer that patient or the athlete back to you, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like they're in their own little world. Like, I didn't send this person to you so that you can like take over their plan or their treatment. It's that I just send them so that I could get your input on it so that I can help this person get better.
Correct.
Like, that was it. But that can be missed.
I respect people. I respect people who go through school, go through my pathway through education. It was different. I didn't decide to become a doctor or to stay in physical therapy. It's like I wanted to learn things differently. I wanted to hands-on. I wanted to be practical. That's the best way I learn, is practical experience. But it's also by talking to people in real life, in real time, getting the right information and going, hey, is this the right way to do this? Hey, this is the way I'm training this athlete. Can you take a look at this? I've sent my program to a collegiate coach, like a collegiate strength coach, and he's like, spot on, you're fine. Good.
Cool.
Good. Okay, great. At least and this was years ago, but at least I know that I'm on the right path. I'm not seeking for validation. I believe in my stuff, but I'm just going, hey, I need you to also take a look at this. What do you think?
That's why the team, like having like a medical or performance enhancement team is the best thing, because you don't have to know everything. Like, I don't know everything, so I don't have to know everything. That's why I have other people that have expertise that I can just say, take a look at this. And that's easier for you, like in me. That's easy for me if I say, like, I know this athlete, there's a team of people that's going to help them perform better. It's not all on me. Like, I don't have to figure everything out.
I think there's an ego thing. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter male or female. So when I say ego, I'm saying I'm the doctor. They stay with me. I have the doctor, whatever.
Who cares? Like,
whatever. I get it, but at the same, like, and this is not recent, right? A lot of these, that's what I'm saying. A lot of these experiences are old experiences. They've taught me different lessons. Where who can I refer athletes to? Who is going to be reciprocating? What relationships are we going to have? So for a long period of time, if I wouldn't refer an athlete out, I would just go, okay, talk to mom and dad. This is what I think, but you need to go on your own. Check whoever.
Yep.
And then they would come back. They would bring, whatever reports, or like, yeah, hey, John's got to stay in a boot for whatever 6 weeks. Or okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I don't want that responsibility.
Yeah.
It's out of my scope.
Yeah.
I'm not. So, that's why I'm like, I'd like to have some physical therapists, some chiropractors, an orthopedic surgeon. Like, I want to have the network, and it builds everybody.
Yeah.
And it's about the athlete. The athlete is being treated like an athlete.
Yeah.
Even though they could be a kid.
Yep.
But that experience that they have is going to help dictate how they perceive other relationships.
Yeah.
We've had several athletes from high school age go off to college and then come back to do internships with us because they liked how we trained. Like, we influenced them to go down this pathway. We influenced them to become an athletic trainer or right. So I can imagine that when you're an athlete, you have to. You would want that information to get back to the right people, right? And the parent, like, there's all of this moving parts. And so, I don't send a lot of people out anymore. I say, hey, go see Dan, go here. That's it. And then I do get the information back. I am getting, so I know how to train them. I know you're ready to return to play. You were injured here with coach here, right? And they end up coming to see us, and then we take over and we manage their performance, their training loads a lot better, and they're seeing better results. Not immediately, but they're seeing it over a longer period of time because they're...
It seems like it's like the whoever's treating is focused on themselves. Like you said, it's kind of their ego. They're focused on what they're doing, and they're not really truly thinking about, like, the athlete. And that athlete has other people in their lives that are trying to help them too. But it comes down to they're just like, they want to be in control of it. But that's them focusing on themselves and not the actual athlete. So that can be a problem. That's why you just gotta find. It's finding the right, like we've said, it's finding the right group of guys.
Finding the right team. And that's why I also think at the professional level, like, I'm watching Aaron Rodgers return so fast because he's one of those individuals that are like, I don't want the traditional. I need traditional, but I also need this. And I also need... I'm being holistic about my approach. You go tear an Achilles and he comes back. I don't think he can't play because they're out. But 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Something in that realm. He's back running or changing direction. He's doing stuff, and you're like, God. So whatever care he received, and him as a person knowing what he knows, right? Knowledge, and he's like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I need to do this. Then there's other team doctors or in the professional realm. They're, well, you did your ACL. It's going to be 11 months. It's going to be maybe 12 months before you return. It doesn't have to be. Why are we extending the care so long? Maybe they don't need to be in competition for 12 months, but maybe it's like, hey, you'll be fully functional in 9 months. You'll be stronger, blah, blah, blah. But for that 3 extra month period, we really need to go ahead and load it and
get you into
get
game
you
shape finally.
Get you prepared. I don't see that.
True.
At all.
True.
Even at the professional level, which is bizarre. I think that's the ego thing. I'm the doctor. I don't know if it's because of litigation. I don't know if it's like I'm just being extra cautious because I am responsible for this athlete's return. I don't know.
That's the way they've always done it, probably.
Then it goes back into that 20-year.
Yeah, like this is just what I've done.
This is what I've done forever.
Yeah. And you get busy, and then you don't learn like what you don't get like learn the new things that people are doing.
But don't be critical of whoever's treating Aaron Rodgers and making Aaron Rodgers return, and not with Aaron himself, but don't be so critical of him saying he's doing something he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
he's taking steroids or whatever. I don't know. That's his. It's called HIPAA. Number one, so whatever he decides to share, it's on him. But two, it's like if you're a doctor looking from outside in, like I am, I'm not going to be critical.
Yeah,
I would like. Oh shit! What did he do?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
if you're a physical therapist, chiropractor, and you're doing stuff. Oh, what is?
Yeah, let's see what you're doing. Yeah,
tell me.
Yeah,
I want to learn more.
Yeah,
it's just me being curious.
Yeah.
And wanting to learn more.
Yep.
Like, again, I'm very confident in what I do and how I view it, but I'm still learning, man. I'm curious.
It's always changing. Like there's always better stuff you can do to improve stuff.
Always.
There's no reason not to be always curious about it. It's not like you're just always going to have this protocol for a soccer player, and you're just going to do that protocol every single time on every soccer player.
Exactly.
Like things are going to change as time goes by.
My philosophy's changed.
Yeah.
I took squats out.
Yeah.
I was squatting soccer. I was squatting everybody. Oh, we need squats. Let's go ass to grass.
Yeah.
Or quarter squat or isometric. But that's now I go, okay, over the years, what has really helped these athletes? And then I start looking at exercise selection, and that's a maturity thing where you start going, okay, back squats haven't helped. Actually, I think they're more of a risk than the reward. So let's look at why. Like, I didn't take them out just because I didn't like them. I go, why? And I start diving into my belief, like, okay, or my perspective of, oh, maybe this is what it is.
Yeah, here's what I'm seeing.
And I go, I just take it away. And I know that there's other trainers out there that probably have done very similar things. Like, we don't do that. Like, max effort sprints, once a week for athletes, and I'm not going to do a plyometric for another 72 hours, or anything like heavy on the nervous system, because I know I want it to recover. I know I'm trying to get the most out of them. I know they're probably not eating as much as they should. I'm trying to help.
It's always having that thought in the back of your head, that you're just providing a stimulus to the body so that it can respond and build stronger. Or
for the next session, and for the next session.
So it's like you don't always have to, because if you're breaking it down, you don't need to break it down again if it hasn't responded by build back up. It's always having that in the back of your mind that's what you're doing. Even for general population, just when you're going to the gym, realize you're not building muscle when you're in the gym. It's the next day when you're recovering, when you're sleeping. That's when when you're eating properly, that's when you're actually going to grow. Yeah. So you don't just always want to be breaking it down unless you're recovered.
No. So this goes into what I'm looking into now, and I've been diving into this. I've been really trying to look at how athletes are being developed today, kids. All right, so for example, I'm looking at my phone, and this is like how they're being developed is not the same way you and I were. Right, I'm much older than you are, but it's not. I'm not much older. I look much older. But anyways, it goes into how they are developing from a neurological standpoint. They're reading and looking at screens instead of reading paper books or different things. So I understand the era that we're in. But then I look at that and go, okay, what factors is that in their development athletically?
Yep.
Athletes are becoming less athletic, in my opinion, and the sports are having to adjust the entertainment value. They're having to adjust how the sport is being played. Because the athlete is not... My favorite athlete of all time is Bo Jackson. He played professional baseball and professional football. So that's
amazing.
Deion Sanders, I think, is the only other, right? It's a different era. So how are we training them, and how are they recovering? Well, when they're laying in bed scrolling, they're not recovering.
Yeah.
Not fully. Like they're resting the nerve, but the nervous system is just overloaded and stimulated.
Yeah.
So how are they resting is a big key to how much I'm loading the athlete the next day.
Yeah.
Or the week, right? We want to develop these annual cycles, like strength and conditioning coach. Like we got to do these annual. Yes, I can see the overall macro cycle, but the day to day, I think, is way more important because athletes don't sleep well or they're not recovering, so you have to adjust how much is going on.
Yep.
And trainers are not doing that.
Yep.
They're not having their athletes check in, doing a questionnaire. We've been doing that for years, and it's because I look at their brains they're not learning the same way. Their like physical response is not the same way. We're having to do, I think there's twofolds. Either I'm doing less I'm doing microdosing so I can keep them engaged and keep them from injury and keep building muscle, instead of going, we're going to go heavy we're lifting this heavy this today and 3 times a week. And I don't think it's weird. So I'm now understanding that, and there's research articles now that are starting to come out showing that this is a different time for kids and how they're being developed, how they're learning is different. I can't imagine.
Yeah, interesting.
I can't imagine how it is to be a kid today with a device in my hand. Like, you have access to everything. Your entertainment is always on. You're not even at schools, right? Everything is iPad or Chromebook.
Yeah. Thank God we have athletics and exercise.
Thank God.
Otherwise,
Well, even I think some states don't even have that. Some schools don't even have PE anymore.
Which is insane.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. But that's a whole nother thing, man. I think over the course of the past, I'm going to go back probably just maybe a decade. Like how I would. We talked about like changing like training philosophy. Like I had to change. I see, oh man, these kids are weird today, like socially awkward. So I'm having to train and talk to them differently. I'm having to coach them differently.
Interesting.
Our athletes, our other trainers, are having to do the same thing. Like they're having to learn. Like, okay, I can't talk to this person for too long because they're not gonna recognize. Like they're gonna switch off.
Yeah.
So even when we don't want to over cue, we don't want to over talk. Sometimes we're just like, it was good, adjust this, and that's it, and that's what we leave it at that.
Yeah.
And we want the athletes to engage us.
Yeah.
Instead of us always like over engaging.
Cool.
It's weird, but that's how they are being developed today.
Interesting.
We're not training the same way 20 years from now. It's not going to happen. I think there's going to be different. That's why you say the body is always changing.
Yeah.
20 years from now, we're going to look different.
Cool. Can't wait to see what happens.
I think we're getting smaller as a society. I think kids are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Unless they're being fed like growth hormones.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's because they're looking at a screen for the majority of their day, and then the development is delayed. Yeah. In some capacities, it's not enhancing them.
Yeah.
So it's an odd time, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so odd, dude. But, dude, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Taking time out of your
this was fun.
Hectic schedule.
Yeah.
Coming down, chatting, talking, letting people know, chiropractic. It's not all bad.
Yeah.
Like there's good in it.
Yeah.
There's still some good ones in there.
Yeah.
There's some good physical therapists there.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's
just want to say everyone is good.
Everyone's got their great. Please do not. I don't read comments, so it's okay. But for the most part, man, I think that It's the reason why this works. It's
Yeah.
because philosophies align, and when they need to change, we address it and we talk about it and go, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Can we improve this? So that's why it works.
Yep.
That's awesome, dude. So,
well, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Of course.
Very fun.